Did I actually go live? Please tell me I did. Please tell me it's working. I see a live button. It says live. It looks like it's working. Okay. Whoop. Now let me do the comments thing because that was the one that last time I could see people. How y'all doing? Happy Friday. There we go. Public chat. Hello, hello, Carrie. Good to see you. Okay, I think I got my things together, y'all. I'm trying to be more techity. I'm trying to get my little stuff together, and it's Friday. How are we doing? How are we doing for real? Coming into this Friday, checking in. How you doing for real? What kind of week has it been? What kind of week has it been this week? I want to know. That's what I want to know. That's the check-in. What kind of week has it been? And what are you going to give yourself over the weekend to tend to the kind of week that it's been? If it's been a week where you're on a high and you're out here laughing and playing and running and ripping, then I want to know how you're going to continue that energy over the weekend. If it's been a week that it's been a week and you're coming into Friday scraping by the hair of your changing chin, I also want to know that. And what are you going to do to take care of yourself this weekend? I can already tell you for me, we're going to put a little sun in this room. I was over here earlier working, and I have this camera, or I have this window next to my desk, and it is like the window that faces the street. And I, in the middle of the night, always get inspiration to come and work, and I'd be in here either naked or in my drawers, and I was like, "Ooh, the neighbors." It was a little too dark in here. Now I'm back. It was a content recording morning for us, so we recorded a whole bunch of YouTube content batch for Oshimani Learning YouTube, which y'all, I've just been loving so much. I love teaching. I love teaching. I love creating learning experiences. Who would have thunk? I really do love crafting and curating spaces for people to learn and expand and see ahas. Like, I really do get off on that experience. I'm such that person. And one of the things that we have been doing in Expertise Activated, which is the current open group cohort, Carrie, right, that you are in, one of the things that we've been doing in the last couple of weeks has been looking at archetypes and business models. And this morning we were recording some public content about archetypes and business models. So keep an eye out for, if you're interested in thinking about what is your contribution archetype or your business model, we have a little bit of content coming your way on the Oshimani Learning YouTubes about that. Just recorded a batch, so it'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But we created this quiz as a part of it, right? The quiz is on the website also. If you want to go take the quiz to figure out what I'm talking about, you can find the quiz on oshimanilearning.com. And I think that's in my link tree. I'm so glad, Carrie. Carrie says, I love this cohort. I am so glad. It's been a blast. And so we made this quiz, and the quiz is helping you to determine what is the archetype of your contribution and what is the model for your business. And so obviously we made the quiz. I took the quiz. Good to see you. Wine in, mama. We'd love to see that. I took the quiz, and my primary contribution archetype is an artist. And I will have to tell you that when I took the quiz, I was so kind of confronted because I was like, I don't really think this is me. I don't know. I don't really see how it shows up. My primary archetype was an artist. My secondary archetype was a healer. And I was like, huh. And then I really sat with it, and it was like, girl, that's all you do. That's all you do is craft and create experiences and want to make little worlds for people to live in so that, they have the ability to be able to alleviate the suffering that is running a business in a way that you're not designed. And I'm like, oh, duh. Duh. But I'm really sitting in today how much I love the artistry element. And I never in a million years would have thought of myself as an artist. But when I think about people being the canvas, I'm like, oh, duh. Duh. And it's so funny on the healing element. Years ago, Kira Akira Buckley, our resident dean of soul work at the Business Cousins, said to me, "Oh yeah, Portia's the business healer," and I was like, "I don't know what that means, but I'll take it." I'm like, "Oh, I do enjoy helping people stand in the gap of healing their relationship with how they're running their business because I just to the point of the last couple of weeks worth of lives and our conversations around it, um, there's a lot of suffering that we just make normal about how we run businesses, how we live our lives, let's be real, but also how we run businesses, right? And, so much of the thing I want to be left in the world when I'm done is that there are system structured processes that can make us have an easier time with that. I want us to love it more because we're in it for the long haul. Welcome in, Parshal. Good to see you. I want us to love it more. We're in it for the long haul. We are actively going to spend our entire life contributing to the things that matter to us and letting those things contribute back. So we should love it. It's got to be something that's centered in our love and in our joy. It's always my work in the world. And so I am so motivated now. Like I really sat with, my results. So I also want to say if you take the test and you get results that you don't love, sit with that. Mine had to marinate for a couple weeks. So I was like, yeah, I know I answered these questions, but so sitting in that. And inside of that same conversation, thinking about what we talked about last week. So last week we were having a conversation about the new and the full moon. And we spent a good amount of time talking through what this Scorpio full moon is likely to be bringing about for the people. Truly in the land of the revelations. And in that I have been revealed to a lot about myself. How do you feel about yourself this week? Also, follow up question from last week because it feels like although the full moon has passed, the revelations they keep on coming. Every other day this week, I'm like having some other, aha about how I have self sabotaged my life or showed up in a relationship in a way that I didn't exactly enjoy or navigated a piece of, business in a way that I wish that I would have known better so that I could have done better. I've been having lots of that over the last couple of weeks. And just really sitting in reflection. I think that with that revelationary energy that is, in the world and in the moon and has been in the last week. It's also had me sit in just general reflection of like, what does it look like for me to be walking my walk as someone who came here to contribute to the world and be contributed to as a part of said world, and is not trying to make it my entire identity. Welcome in, 320 Bakery. Not trying to make it my entire identity, but also knows that it's a big part of who I am and what I do and how I do it. And at the end of my life, I'm sure it will be very tied to the purpose that I came here for. I've been sitting in kind of what are some of the ways and some of the things that support us all being able to have a bigger conversation about how we love businesses more, how we contribute in a way that we love with our businesses, how we make them more comfy, is how we make them more designed around us, right? So as we're in this inquiry, the conversation of shared language came up while in that inquiry. And so, in the conversation of shared language, I want to define shared language. Shared language for me is the concept of having words to be able to describe the experience that we're having or that we want people to have, and that everybody understands what we mean by those words. I think that there are the easiest way to understand shared language is to look at the examples in which we don't have shared language, right? Like I often, folks will say to me, I just want to make more money. Well, more money to you and more money to me are two very different things. That's very different than I would like to make 10% more than I made last month next month. Very clear, right? I understand shared language. And I don't think it's always just clarity or like breaking down something to where like, are you smarter than a fifth grader? I think it's also about when there are words that you use that are meant to be access points, catalysts for transformation, right? That like if you can understand this concept, it will catalyze a certain belief shift that makes you maybe think a bit differently, that then would make you be able to have easier actions, right? If you're creating something for someone. shared language also does that, right? So like when I say things like contribution archetype, people have no idea what that is, right? I have to say like, oh, your contribution is the good that you want to see in the world, and the archetype is the flavor with which you may be going about putting that good out, right? That gives us some shared language, right? One of the things that Parshell does so well is I'll just be out here on vibes, and Parshell will find the keywords and the vocabulary pieces so that we can have shared language, right? And I think that in our world at the current moment in time, in the land of experts and entrepreneurs here coming at you live from the streets, in our market, we really are missing the boat overall in shared language across the board. And I think that we are under leveraging and underutilizing shared language as a way to teach people how best to show up to what we're offering them. A lot of us do things that are so jargony, and I know I'm so guilty of it. And as I was having conversation this week with a couple of people, this concept of shared language kept coming up of like, shared language is the access point to which people can play the game. You ever been sitting somewhere, right, and somebody's playing a card game, and it looks really interesting and you really want to get in, but there's no way that you're going to enter because you don't know the rules, and you know that people aren't going to slow down enough to stop and explain them to you, right? That is kind of what I think a lot of us are experiencing in our marketing and in our sales. Like, we are attempting to communicate to people a better way, an easier way, a simpler way of going about things. Welcome in, Maisie. Good to see you. Twice in 1 week, I declare. Right? We're trying to like describe what it is that we're doing, but we don't actually have the shared language, and we haven't taken the time to walk our audience through the rules so that they can come and play the game with us. We're asking them to do things before we're even giving them shared language to have the concept as to why they should do them. And it is something that is such a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant way to teach. I think that I am realizing how much of our general content should be spent giving people the language of how to be able to play. Well, I'm happy to have you. Maisie says, happy to catch another live. Happy to have you, right? We've got to give our audience the ability to be able to play the game. So many of us are expecting that people are going to get on the court and play, and then we told them how to play, and we don't understand why they don't know how to do it. It's like, did we explain the concepts? Did we break down the why? Did we give them that piece of shared language so that everybody can be able to participate? I think that, we spend so little time on that when we are sharing our sacred offerings with the world. You know what I mean? And I think that as I am navigated a couple of spaces this week, a couple of things really came to mind for me. And I want to kind of name a bit of that too. One was in a conversation we were having with me. Had 3 solid conversations this week that brought up shared language as an access point. In our expertise activated cohort, this week we were having a conversation, and I realized, oh my gosh, so much of the gold of this cohort isn't even really explaining the concepts. It's giving people shared language. It's having them go, here's 3 ways to leverage your business. Here are 5 learning objectives that you need to hit for your audience every single time. Here's the archetype. Here's the business model. And what we kept getting reflected to us over and over again was like, oh my gosh, now I have words for this. And that brings me to the conversation I actually was having with Maisie and Clorinda Tivoli in her Teletime, right? This is my coaches. I go get coached by Clorinda in her fantastic space. And again, just brilliant decolonization work. And you want to be in rooms like Clorinda's. Every single entrepreneur at the other end of my voice, you want to be in rooms where people are thinking slightly more expansively than you are, so that you can start to think at a level that's slightly more expansive, right? You want to be in rooms where people are having conversations that make you go, I never even fucking thought of that, right? Clorinda's room is one of those rooms. We were in that room, and we were having this really interesting conversation around time. And so if you have not been tapped in, I would go pop over to Clarinda's Instagram, Clarinda Tivoli Instagram. I will tag her in the comments thread when I go get this reposted. And go look at some of the last couple videos that she has posted about the difference between monochromatic time and polychromatic time, which tends to be kind of like colonized time versus global majority, global South time, and indigenous time, true time. And we were having this conversation about, like, how do you have a more liberated version of time when you're living inside of systems that require you to be somewhere at a certain time and say something at a certain time and meetings and X, Y, and Z. How do you navigate both spaces? And one of the things that came up as a part of that conversation was this idea of needing shared language so that people could participate in something that was more liberatory, so that they could participate in something that was a different option. Because most of us live our life only knowing what we know. We don't know what we don't know, and we surely don't know what we haven't been exposed to. So by having the language of polychronic time, I'm like, oh, this is that thing I've been on my whole life. Where I'm usually late to things because I'm actively present in my reality somewhere else, where people have all of these expectations about how long things should take, but I'm over here like, that's not how long it actually takes though. I don't care that the AI can do it in 45 minutes. You not the AI. So it's gonna take an hour and 15 on a Tuesday. It may take an hour and 25 on a Thursday. Like, as a person who like feels like, I'm like, how come I'm in reality and my existence may not be in reality? But I didn't have that language to go like, oh gosh, not only is it not just me, it's Clorinda, but not only is it not just Clorinda, it's all of us. And the conversation that we were having in that room really got down to, particularly around this concept of time, really got down to that, like, most of the world doesn't really run on what I really truthfully is corporate time, because that's really what it is corporate time. Because we got to the root of that in that conversation, is that when people need you to work for them and do stuff, they have to make things happen at a schedule reflective of production, not of humanity. And that was kind of the conversation that we were having. And that human time is relational and dynamic and moves and shaves as things move and shake. But we make ourselves wrong for being on that cadence, because we've been taught that there's nothing like corporate time. Maisie says, nodding my head off right now. Look, right? Because there's nothing like corporate time. But that was it. I didn't have the language, right? That's another example of shared language. Welcome in, Wash. Good to see you, right? I didn't have the language to be able to name that. And there is something really powerful about people's inability to have an experience if they don't all the way have the language for it. I was having the experience of not really being on the world's time, corporate time, without having any of this language. But the minute I have the language, now I'm like, oh, I am on polychronic time. Now the all of these kind of scattered actions help me to be able to make sense of how best to exist in this experience. And without that shared language, I can't even be in a conversation. For me, in this conversation around time, which is really about liberation, I can't even be in a liberatory conversation because I don't have the language of liberation. How many of us are craving a liberatory experience and don't have the language of liberation? I'm going to need my liberators to share. Come share your language. Come give us the codes, right? And this is also a part of, then it becomes like, well, how, right? How does that language get shared? What can we kind of do about it? And what do those conversations be? And I think that, again, I want more of us to spend more time in our public facing content sharing language, sharing key terms, what we mean by the key terms, how we feel like people get it right, what we feel like people are getting wrong, and not from a we're right, they're wrong perspective, but from a, if you want this result, you can't think about it like this perspective, right? You gotta maybe be in a camp that's thinking about it like this. I want more of us to share more of that in the way that people meet us. Because it also, and one of the things I've learned so much from Clorinda, so much that I've learned from Clorinda, is that there is a cadence and a ceremony that happens when people interact with you. And the first interaction is different than the second, is different than the third, is different than the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh. And every interaction, every has its own flavor and cadence. The way that the things that people need when they meet you for the first time are not the things that they need when they meet you for the fifth time. And the better that we can be about understanding that process helps us to know where to start with people, how to give people a soft place to land, to get excited enough about what we're sharing with them that they want to go do what we're saying that they should do so that they can go have the result that we want them to go and have in their life, right? And I think that a very powerful thing that a lot of us could do, and I've been talking about this for weeks, but now this is kind of being brought forward, is when people are getting to know you, lower the stakes and share the language. Lower the stakes and share the language. Give people the rules of how to play so that they can better understand. Something else that came up in that conversation with Clorinda and team that I thought was, and with Maisie. Welcome in. Oh, welcome in. Good to see you, Professor Ford. Good to see you. I got to make my way down to San Diego to see more of you. Let's see the comment says, Maisie says, yes, shared language as a pathway into next level learning and work. Yes, like these people cannot produce the language that they cannot produce the result for a language they don't have. Like without language, you don't have experience or existence. And without experience or existence, you don't have the retention necessary to produce results. And again, the only way that you can produce results is that you transform from being someone who didn't produce them to someone who does. And without that shared language, transformation is hard because action is hard, right? I can't play in the game if I don't know the rules. And we got to lower the stakes so that you can then meet me at the language that I have, and then you can share it. Come share me your language, right? Professor Ford, I'm so glad to have you. I consider you to be, it's so crazy because I said the word liberator and then you came in. So I consider you to be a liberator with your language. So thank you for being here and bringing in the energetics of liberation into the space. We need our liberators to share the language of liberation. Otherwise, there's no reality that we can live in. We only know the language of oppression, most of us. We on corporate people time. Can't even get to polychromatic time. Can't get to liberated people time, human people time, because we don't have a language for that, right? So that came up. And then the other thing that came up in that conversation when we were with Maisie and with Clorinda was this idea of making an offer. And it was so funny because Parshell and I, in our Oshimani learning space, we have a make an offer model. So if you come and desire to take a cohort with us, you'll get to a page where it'll say, make us an offer based on what it is that we do. And it has whirled the girls. I get so much feedback. I know Carrie, who's here in the chat, has given me this feedback of like, I did not like that experience. Like, it's intimidating. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't know what to do. And it does this whole thing. And it has been, from the back end, so interesting to me. Because it teaches you a lot about how you have to value us and value community. But a lot of that teaching is something that is best done when you already kind of know us and know what's up. If that's the first inclining that you get, it can be really intimidating for folks because they're like, I don't know where to be. And Clorinda was sharing a story that she was having a similar experience where someone else was making an offer, and whatever she made an offer for, she really wanted. But the idea of making the offer was so much that she just never ended up purchasing the thing. And that is something that we run into, just to be real. It's something that we run into as a part of that conversation of people being like, I'm so overwhelmed with the piece that I just leave. And I realizing that it's because we didn't do as great of a job thinking about what the shared language needs to be that people can actually participate in what it is that we're talking about. Right. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a peephole into the back end of what we're doing in our business, hoping it inspires something for you. But it really gave me this aha, blessed is the Scorpio full moon from last week. Really gave me this aha of like, oh shit, we're missing an opportunity. We did not give anybody enough shared language that if they don't know us and trust us, to be able to know and trust this process. And that's another word for the people, is that we often wonder why don't people know us and trust us, when really we didn't give them enough shared language to even know and trust the process enough to know and trust us. You feel me? Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? It may not even be about you yet, right? What are the rules of the game and how do we play, right? So that I'm still sitting in an inquiry with, like, how do I do better at sharing the language of why this process that we're doing is liberatory for you, why it's helpful for you and it's helpful for us, how to play in it, like, and how we go about sharing that more often and much more frequently. Because again, if the only time you talk to people is when they want to sell them shit, then that's why people hate it. Welcome in, Miss Ngando. I hope I said that right. Welcome in. Good to have you. Right. So we gotta be thinking through how are we enrolling people in these shared languages for liberation, right? Particularly those of us who have a liberatory energy to what we're trying to do. I'm trying to bring you tips, tools, and tricks that's gonna liberate you from the suffering that you have with your business, right? You have your version of that, right? How can we be more upfront about sharing that language so that more people can play? Let me get all up in the chat. Professor Ford, look, my spirit told me to tap in. We liberating out here. Yes, we is. Whirling the girls, Macy says. Carrie says, it was intimidating for me, and I know you both. Exactly. Exactly. Miss Encanto says, hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful back. Yes, look. And I can get that was. And I think the catalyst and coach in me is like, I want you to be a little triggered. But again, that doesn't work if you don't know, and if you don't already know us and know how we roll and know that I'm never gonna make you triggered because of something that's not for your liberation and your growth, right? But you don't know that because you don't know me yet. Gotta think about that. We gotta think about that. I will also say this brings me to another conversation that I had over the week that I wanted to bring in here with one of my most favorite, most brilliant operators. Y'all, it pays if you are a business owner. It pays for you to be in community with operations specialists, even if you only key once every other month because they be booked and they be blessed every other month on the Zoom. You need to know operators in your world, people who all day long are managing projects and managing visionaries and dealing with markets and implementing systems, because so many of us are visionaries or really deep on the ground with our people. We don't always understand the inner workings of how these things function. Oh, your operating homies are the most brilliant people, truthfully, in our space. I had a conversation with one of my brilliant homegirls, Jenny. Well, previously Valtinson. Jenny just got married, so I don't actually know what her last name is now. I'll tag Jenny, but I don't know what her last name is now. But me and Jenny were having a conversation where she was talking about how many people keep coming to her saying that they need better systems, but really it's nothing to do with systems. It has everything to do with their policies and their procedures, and not necessarily understanding. In Jenny's world, she has the issue where people will hire an operations person, bring them into their business, and say, okay, I'm trying to get these outcomes and these are the things that I want to do. Help me make it more organized. And she's like, okay, great. Well, what are your policies? How do you go about this? What are the procedures? What are the common practices that you use to get there? Right. And she realized, like, people have so many different names for these things that they don't really necessarily know how to give me what it is that I need. And, if your strategy is kind of crappy, and you don't and you're like, I'm going to take these 5 steps, but those 5 steps don't actually equal that outcome, it doesn't matter how efficient I make you in the 5 steps, you're never going to reach that outcome. And how imperative it is for business owners to own that part of their business strategy before you hire some operator to automate it, because they're going to struggle. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna really struggle in their ability to be able to do that. Welcome, Annie. I good to see you. They're not going to be able to support you in the way that you need support, if you don't actually have a solid strategy for them to better be able to optimize. And she was talking about, Portia, I'm about to have to get in my bag and start to do some more teaching, because people don't have the shared language to know how to even show up for their own support. And I said, well, there it is again. That's my third confirmation this week around the importance of shared language. So I bring that to you as like a little verbal lineage call out, a la Possibility Maven, who's trying to help me be much better about citing my sources. These conversations catalyze the thoughts around this piece around shared language. And so, my invitation for you today, as you navigate out in your space, what is the language of liberation for your business? What are the things that, if they know about them, how you know about them, they think about them the way you think about them, they may be able to liberate themselves from a piece of suffering that they are navigating as a part of being in the existence of your communities? Whether you're dedicated to parents, whether you're dedicated to nonprofits, whether you're dedicated to children, whether you're dedicated to, folks in the working space, right? Whether you're dedicated to leaders, what are the terminologies that you can share with them that help to lower the stakes and share the language of a liberatory practice that they may be able to take and navigate as a part of what they do and how they do it? Okay, that's my invitation for the day. That's the bit of the business, friends. I hope you have a happy Friday. I will tell those of you all who are in Business Cousins and Squad what Business Cousins events are happening this week. Right quick, before we hop off. I'm so glad, Maisie. That makes me happy. It was so good to see your actual face also on that call. I was like, this is the Maisie. I love it. So glad to hear it. Okay, I will be on live today. Obviously, I was here at noon PST, noon 12 PST every Friday. I have office hours today from 2 to 3. So my Business Cousins and Squad pop in with me in office hours. This Monday, let me see. This Saturday, Kira's got devotion coming up on the 16th from 9 to 10. I think we're still moving through that beautiful Audre Lorde essay, Uses of the Erotic. Yep, we are still moving through that as a cohort with Kira from 9 to 10. On Monday, Jennifer is hosting her Come Home to Your Body session from 1 to 2 p.m. PST. It always feels good to make sure to come home to your body with Jennifer. And then next week on Wednesday, May the 20th, Renisha is leading her burnout specialist conversation, 9 to 10 a.m. PST. Paya is leading her operations office hour. Come ask Paya some of these questions on Wednesday, May 20th from 1 to 2 p.m. PST. And then on Thursday, May the 21st, Cassandra is leading her Systems Thinkings Lab, and she's got her office hour from 7:30 a.m. PST to 9 a.m. PST. It's a very heavily operation week coming up in Business Cousins as well. So if you need some of that ops help, come pop in and ask some questions of Cassandra and ask some questions of Paya. And then Dr. Mynisha is hosting her peace-driven leader for all the parents. How do you manage your parenting in your business? How do you manage keeping the schedules for the house together with also keeping yourself together, from 9 to 10 a.m. PST on Thursday, May the 21st? You can ask those questions of Dr. Mynisha, and then I'll be back again next Friday, 12:12 PST, here on Instagram and on the YouTubes. Let me see what we say. So thank you for this. This has been on my spirit to hire an operations person. Now that my protocols are more aligned, this is in confirmation. Do it to it. Do it to it. And look, I'm going to be real. Again, come hit us because, make sure we want to make our operations people nice and comfortable. So I'm so glad that you got your procedures in place, because they love to see that. Uses of the Erotic is one of my favorite essays. You know what? Kira has been bringing us through it. And I will tell you, I have such an expanded view of the reality of the erotic, of the power that lives inside of all of us around that. And it also has really colored my view of the chaos of this time and how to be able to harness that energy for the good that I want to see, and to find a place of joy and pleasure and grounded inspiration in the chaos that we have at this time from that body of work. So I'm glad we're here. I'm newly introduced to it, but it is again, to Maisie's point, it's whirling the girls. I have been whirled truly around that body of work, and I love the way that Kira has been taking us into different corners to look at how it's showing up in our life. Again, delicious, always delicious. All right, my friends, happy Friday. Happy Friday. I'm so glad to see you all. Thank you all for the folks who joined live. It's always nice to have live folks. I love it. I'm still growing this group, so it's so nice that people come and join live. It makes me feel like I'm not talking to the wall. So thank you for joining live. And also thank you for being a person. Thank you for being a person who is creating a business to utilize your expertise to make the world look like you want it to look. Thank you for picking up that mantle. Thank you for doing that work. We don't say thank you to ourselves enough, and I know the world don't thank you enough. So please take this heartfelt thank you from me. I love you big. Please take my love with you over the weekend. I will see you again next Friday, another Venus Day Live, 12 p.m. PST. I honestly have no idea what we're going to talk about next week because I've just been taking it as the week goes and being in dynamic human response. And it's really fun and I'm enjoying it. And it makes me feel like an artist. And I'm sensitive about my shit, but I'm enjoying it. All right, friends. Enough of that. Have a good Friday. See you later. All right, YouTubes. I'll see you later too.